Welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney. And Josh is off the bench to replace Larry. So thank you very much to Josh. But we'll pretty much crack straight into it, Josh, because we're just having a discussion. Is there a lot to discuss or is there nothing to discuss? Because there was so much news in the last couple of days about Erik ten Hag and that interview and the press conference. There was so many things to dissect from there. But you fast forward 1 or 2 days and you think, well, hang on, yes, the season has finished. There is no football. And we're just going to be in the transfer merry-go-round of what is the business of Manchester United. But there is 1 or 2 sort of snippets of information out there. But we'll start on the main man himself, Erik ten Hag, to start off with while we have some listeners join us. What have you made of the last couple of days in terms of his sort of first interview and first press conference?
Look, I think he was always ten Hag. He's always going into a win-win situation. Anything's better than what we've been used to in the past couple of months, especially with Ralph, and obviously how he's so direct with the press. I think Ten Hag, he did have a responsibility, obviously, to come across well. I think that's always what you want. But in terms of what's coming out and his integration with the whole of the wider team at United, from catering to those in IT to pretty much everyone associated with the club, he's come across really well. And he's obviously said all the right things, but then again, so did Ralph when he first came as interim manager. So did Ollie when he got the job. So did Jose. It's all about, giving the time, like we said, and hopefully practice what they preach.
What do you make on that in regards to here I was a few months ago talking about I like it, the Erik ten Hag appointment. I really like it, and I'm falling in love with the guy at the moment. But I did have questions saying, I don't care how good he is. I think ultimately he'll be destined to fail. Now, some of us, and rightly so, and we do have evidence to maybe support this claim, but a lot of us are sitting here now and saying, well, there has been 1 or 2 changes behind the scenes, and okay, you can see a situation where Ten Hag is successful, and I see that as well. But the point I was making was, even though deep down I think it will ultimately fail through no wrongdoing of his own, I'm thinking by when he is here and he holds up the shirt and holds up the scarf and does his first sort of MUTV interview, I'll fall in love with him and think we're going to win the treble. So do you think, how much of this do you think is down to fan excitement, or do you think this is genuine and you can see something? Because there is something about Erik ten Hag, like, in terms of, and again, these are MUTV interviews, and Jose Mourinho had a great first press conference. Solskjaer had a great first press conference. So these things are not easy for a manager, but it's hard to get wrong. However, maybe it's the excitement in me. Tell me if not. It does seem to be just a twist in Erik ten Hag, that there's that sort of sternness to him. There's an honesty. There's a confidence. I wouldn't say an arrogance, but there's you can tell he's a strong character, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Look, he's come across really, really well in his interview in terms of, as I alluded to before, his attitude with the wider team at United. I've just got into the habit now. I'm not building my hopes up. I know how damaged upstairs is at United. It's going to remain like that for a while. I don't think he's necessarily set up to fail in the respect of who he's got as a team, because I think it's very clear that players will leave. He'll let some players go. I think there's rumour today that probably about £80 million worth of players he's going to sell, not including the ones that are out of contract. And then obviously he's going to buy into the squad as well, including the rumours that we're going to talk about today. What I will say is he's going to be really judged instantly in terms of who he does sell, not those players out of contract, and who he does bring in. You look at Mourinho's first season and he brought some really good quality signings on paper, but really ones to appease the fans. And ultimately it did deliver. We won 3 major trophies that year and got into the Champions League. But taking it a bit further, you look at what Ollie did in his first proper season as well, where ultimately he got rid of some players that we thought weren't right for Man United, probably aren't right for Manchester United on reflection. But he also brought in some good players in the long term, and ultimately he did deliver in that first season. So again, first seasons can say a lot. We'll just see how it goes on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll just go to some guys in the live chat to say g'day, and before we sort of crack on with the Timber and OR Torres news. But Ian, always good to see you, mate. Pleasure to have you here. George as well. I think we need both players there. We're going to get into the discussion, and I think that is the answer. I put a sort of tweet out in that meme the whole day is, well, just why not both? And I think that is the situation, man. I do find themselves in. Not sure if this is Antonio, or it could be actually Larry. I think it might be Antonio. Who knows? But the Gone for 10 show, if you are into your rugby league, you can find them on our social medias, but a bit of a rugby league show for you. Larry and good mate Antonio appear on there. I think we'll get both Timber covers, centre-back and right-back. Torres for centre-back can challenge Maguire. at the moment, it's not really much about challenging Maguire. I think if he comes in, he'll take Maguire's spot. But Edgar here, good to see you, mate. Not in his hands alone. If you don't get the players he will flop. We need, from what I see, something different. Jose is a media person. He loves being the center of attention. Ten Hag is straightforward. Look, I have enjoyed everything I've seen from Erik Ten Hag so far. There's a really good interview. I urge everyone to go and watch. Joe Cole did an interview with Jose Mourinho, just a 10, 12-minute interview. Talks about his time at Chelsea, Roma, but obviously another sort of minute or two on his United exit. And that Jose Mourinho sort of situation is starting to soften with a lot of Man United fans. I think emotion was high when he did leave, but I think more and more information has come out, and you see sort of the issues at the club and what Jose Mourinho was potentially sort of right about deep down. It was a very good interview. Emad, always good to see you. Love seeing the two best United podcasters together again. Love that, Emad. Edgar as well. Don't care for the media. He will play to media. He doesn't care for them like Sir Alex.
Exactly right. He's not wrong there. And you look at him shaking the hands of all the press conference, but they'll stab him in the back. You've already seen one headline. I think someone called it.
I've seen two. I saw two, and I think they came from the journalist. He wasn't rude in his reply to them, but he was very sort of stern in his response. And those sort of negative headlines, they came from those outlets.
What was it, Erik 10 months?
10 months, and the body language expert. They've already had a body language expert analyse in the press conference, and I'm thinking, does any other manager get analysed like that?
No.
Yeah. It's one of those things. And look, there'll be plenty of that. And look, Josh will be there with us in Melbourne. Hopefully many listeners as well. Some of those journalists will be in Melbourne. I remember the Perth tour, we saw them all out there. So who knows, maybe we can get one or two on the pod and grill them about their potential treatment of Ten Hag if things don't go their way. But we will start on the, as you see from the title, Timber or Torres. Now, at the moment, I haven't really seen huge concrete news on either of them, but you get a sense after sort of following Man United and transfer news over the years, you can sort of siphon through what's nonsense and where there is something. And I think with these two, there's obviously something there. Now, whether that eventuates into signings, who knows? But they are the two names. And at the moment, I think this Timber from Ajax does look like it's potentially leading the race. Now, that could be very lazy journalism with the sort of connection to Erik Ten Hag. But if you put money on it, Timber does look the one. So I just want to bring up, this is the only thing I'm getting in my mind, Timber collision sound, the Golf for 10 show. It just sounds like a potential centre-back. It sounds like he'll be great when things are going well, but you think when there's a mistake, you could see it will be reported, so it's just having a plank of wood at the back sort of thing. So he will have his work cut out for him when he does arrive, if he arrives. But we'll just bring up a little bit of a graph on him just in regards to a few stats, then we'll sort of dissect him. I keep calling him Julian Timber. Hurrian, I'm not quite sure of the Dutch pronunciation, but we'll go with Timber just for the moment. Hurrian Timber, so obviously 20 years old. This is the main issue, this second point here, 1.82. It's not an issue for me, but a lot of people obviously do question that in regards to a centre-back coming into the Premier League. What I would say to that, and I'll get Josh's thoughts in a little bit, now we have had decent centre-backs along the way the last couple of years, maybe not good enough to the required standard, but I'd say the last quality centre-back, which I enjoyed watching, was a short Dutch player who has a connection to Ajax, Daley Blind. And I think he was probably been our best centre-back over the last couple of years. Valued at about 30 million euro. That'll be very interesting in regards to what influence Ten Hag does and how much United want to sort of annoy Ajax and sort of take into sort of pivotal sort of cogs in their wheel. So that'll be interesting. But young player from Ajax, you'd assume they're around 30 million euro. And last season, these are his two stats from last season, 43 appearances and obviously 3 goals you don't read anything into because he is a defender, but he also plays a little bit at right back as well. Now, my one bit on Timber there, Josh, is in regards, I've seen a little bit of Ajax over the last couple of years and when they're playing the Champions League. I can't actually remember ever watching Timber play. Now, he might have played in all the games I've watched, but I can't remember anything he's done on the pitch, and that's not to criticise him. I just think the games I've seen Ajax play, they've been on the front foot and playing forward. So I see all the Donny van der Beek or the Frankie de Jong type players or the Antonys. Timber hasn't been one that really sort of stood out. So I can't claim that I'm an expert on him, but I have done sort of, I'm sure everyone has in terms of the YouTube scouting. Looks quality. Now every player looks quality on YouTube, but just what do you know of him at the moment? Because I'm sure you, like any Man United fan, you sort of naturally do your research when these sort of links do pop up.
Only what I've been, I've heard about him and only what I've seen of him, whether it be watching the internationals. He's made a few appearances for Holland, maybe not so much this year, but probably more so last year, especially into the winter period with Van Gaal. But he looks quality, and I think what I like is one of the guys alluded to it in the comments. He can play not just at centre back, but also at right back. which I think is quite important. It looks like Wan-Bissaka is on his way out. I don't think it'd be enough just to purchase Timber, because I don't think his mainstay position at United would be at right back. I think you're going to need something more concrete to sort of back up Delo that's, just a full-on right back as well, as opposed to having someone that's versatile across a few different positions. For me, that's sort of more of a replacement for probably Phil Jones that's going to probably leave at the end of the season. Do I think he'd be a first choice? Probably, in terms of what we've got, yeah. I think it's hard to put Harry Maguire as a starter at the moment, but look, anything can happen. Harry Maguire tends to go world-class for England, and you probably watch 2 games or 3 games over the Nations League now, Erik, and Harry Maguire probably assist 1 and score 3. So who knows? He could have earned his place at United next season.
What did you make of, and again, a manager can't go wrong, and he sort of couldn't really say anything else, but what did you make of Erik ten Hag's sort of answer to the Harry Maguire question in terms of, what are your thoughts on his, I forget what the question was, but it was along the lines of Harry Maguire and the captaincy, I think it might have been, and he sort of came back with an answer. Harry Maguire's a great player, blah, blah, blah. Sort of pretty much all he could say, but the way he just sort of did answer 1 or 2 other questions, he definitely could have answered this one in a sort of more stern way and say, look, I don't care about last season. Everyone's got a clean slate. And I think that would have been a clear answer saying, no, Harry Maguire's shit, get rid of him. But he did sort of come out and really back him. Do you think that's just what any manager would do? Or do you think it's just trying to get the best out of Harry Maguire, saying, hang on, I'm going to be stuck with this guy. I'll try and butter him up and get on his good side? Or do you think he genuinely believes that?
An element of both. You've got to remember he's still our club captain at the moment. He is going to be, in his squad next season. I don't think he's going to be sold. United will want to have some return on investment, and they're not going to get a return on 80 million for Harry Maguire. Not even a good return anyway. So, look, he's done the right thing. You don't want to get on the bad side of your team and sort of have that sort of barrier from the get-go. You want to get on the good books of everyone and sort of start off as you mean to go on, and sort of backing him like he did. What you expect from any manager, really. I wouldn't expect if it was Mauricio Pochettino coming into United to be the same.
Yeah, no, definitely. What you can do, Josh, just break the audio is actually not too bad, but if you just kick yourself out of the studio and come back in, just breaking up a little bit in regards to the picture, but it's not too bad. Just give that a try yourself. If you can just remove yourself and come back in, and I'll add you, but I'll just go to 1 or 2 in the live chat here. In regards to Ian here saying Timber is very good on the ball. He does look good on the ball in terms of what I've seen. And they're going for 10 here saying Timber will really help from building from the back. Ten Hag knows what style he wants. Both players are technically sound. Maybe we even see De Gea improve with better options, which is definitely my thinking. And look, that's another debate in regards to De Gea's distribution. I think a big issue with that, is the players around him. I think De Gea's sort of pass in the last couple of years, his main task has been to find Marouane Fellaini's chest 60 metres away. That's been a hard pass. So a lot of those times that hasn't come off. It looks like a bad pass, or his other pass is a 40-yard sort of spray out to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's going to control it over the sideline. And it sort of then looks like a bad pass. So I think with better defenders in terms of ball players in and around David De Gea, maybe that'll improve his distribution. But that is a debate for another day in regards to the goalkeeping side of things. I'll just bring Josh back in now. Hopefully that's a little bit better. But in regards to those ball-playing defenders, Josh, the next man on the list, now, I've said this for a while, and I probably bore a lot of people in the live chat. I'll bring this point up every single time his name comes up. But Pau Torres, I bought him in Football Manager the other year, slotted him next to Harry Maguire, and he helped me win the treble, and he was truly unbelievable. And since then, sort of watched him a little bit. Obviously, United were paired with them in the Europa League, and obviously he came out on the winning side. He's a Spanish international at a young age. Now, there are huge sort of questions about him, or any sort of good footballer who plays in Spain in regards to that physicality coming to the Premier League. There are concerns that, but in my opinion, I look at a Pau Torres and think, well, if he went to Manchester City, you could see Manchester City turning him into the best centre-back in the league. In terms of Laporte, when he came in, he was the best in the league. Now it's Ruben Diaz. And all these players sort of had question marks sort of arriving in the Premier League. And I think if Pau Torres went to a club like City, he'll just slot straight in. But coming to Manchester United, there are huge concerns. So I'll just throw 1 or 2 stats up like we did with the Timber here. But he's 25, so 5 years older than Timber. Probably defenders years, probably coming into his prime now. So it's obviously going to, you can see the transfer value there. That transfer value potentially does look in and around the sort of category of a release clause of Villarreal, and obviously in Spain, if you could meet that release clause. That is what the rumour does suggest at the moment, but obviously a little bit more expensive, obviously. A lot taller. He's obviously a big guy. No, not lanky, but obviously he's quite a slim build. So I'm of pretty much the opposite body shape to Timber. And obviously last year, 47 appearances and 6 goals. And just on those appearances, you can tie this back into the Timber one. You compare that to our star defender this year, Rafael Varane. I don't know how many appearances he's made, but he hasn't made 47 appearances. And Timber and Torres, they have both made over 40 appearances in all competitions, and that is a huge thing for me. One of the huge traits of any player, but especially a defender, is your fitness and being available. And you look at some of our defenders, Phil Jones and Erik Bailly, Rafael Varane, Harry Maguire at times this year, they just haven't been fit. And I'm just thinking that is potentially one of the biggest sort of issues we've had at the back this season.
Yeah, exactly. We're not had any consistency with a good partnership. I think Lindelof's probably built the best amount of form towards the back end of the season. And someone that plays 47 games or whatever number it was, it's a good quality trait to have, and it's what you want in a centre back, reliability. He's a signing for me, but I think it'd be fantastic for United. With good leadership, obviously, and a good partnership around him, I think he'd be great. You've got to remember as well, he's been part of a Villarreal team that got to the semi-final of the Champions League, done okay in the league, done okay in the cups, but they're a team that are very, very hard to break down. I know we scored a few against them, but to be honest, they looked pretty much solid, albeit by mistake when we played them. They looked a pretty solid team. And
do you think they're in regards to here? I'm all saying a lot of people are saying they're both. I think here gone for 10 in terms of Man United will be all over this in regards to setting up a cartoon and doing it in like a magazine, release something. Pau Torres and Timber Looney Tunes incoming as the next sponsor. I could definitely see something like that. But here we are saying, and I'll get your thoughts if you would bring both in. Here I would say both. Bring both in. I think that's sort of the surgery our back four and squad does need. However, let's put a hypothetical situation and say Ten Hag has a choice between two. It's either going to be Timber or Torres. I think Pau Torres is a Rolls Royce. I think he's the future of Spain's central parent at the back. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I don't want to say Rio Ferdinand, but he plays the game like Rio Ferdinand. He's beautiful to watch. But there are concerns of how will that adapt to the Premier League. You have to take a risk. Unfortunately, that risk is going to cost maybe 50 or 60 million pounds. That is the life we do live. But obviously, the other side of things is Timber obviously has a close relationship with Ten Hag, knows his system, and Ten Hag will obviously play a style that suits Timber. Now, the style that you sort of alluded to with Pau Torres at Villarreal is very much we've witnessed firsthand playing Villarreal and how they play in the Champions League. It's very much a park the bus, they play quite a deep line. Now, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Pau Torres might have been a perfect complement for Harry Maguire. Now, you sort of step up 20 or 30 yards up the pitch. You don't know how Pau Torres... He might be brilliant at it. Who knows? But we don't have the evidence to suggest that he will, where we do with Timber. So if given the choice, even if Pau Torres is a better defender, that's up for interpretation. But even if he is a better defender, is there a case of a choice between the two? Ten Hag would opt for Timber.
I'd say probably opt for Timber. I'm leaning more towards Timber in the sense of his versatility across two positions. Obviously, Ten Hag trusts him. He's played under him for 2 to 3 years. So he knows what he's getting. And I think you'd probably understand his reasons for moving. I know Villarreal have finished 7th in the league, so Champions League's probably, it's not an option for them next season. But for someone like Torres that Villarreal are looking to sell, you'd question really why he'd come to United if other teams were in for him as well. I think he could probably get into a lot of Premier League teams that are better than us. So it'd be a bit for me, why would you want to come to United?
Look, I think that's the case with a lot of players around Europe. I think the big one, and obviously they're going to kick off a little bit, Barcelona are actually in Sydney. But I saw Frankie, didn't personally see him, but I saw him on the news today, obviously walking around Sydney, and Frankie de Jong is the prime candidate, obviously a huge name linked to Manchester United. But I do look at other midfields around Europe and think, well, hang on, I'm sure they want Frankie de Jong as well. Why would he come to a Europa League club? Now, we had those questions with Ibrahimovic and Pogba, and they came, and you can get good deals in regards to that, and that player or whichever player sort of can with the right motives.
It's a different time. You're joining United in 2017. You're still under the naivety that we're a little bit of a sleeping giant. Now we've been found out, and it's a long process. It's not. Look, I wish Ten Hag all the best, and I think this year, with the players he even brings in, whether they're Timber or Torres, you'll paper over some cracks. We'll do maybe a little bit better, but we're a long way. We're a long way away from competing for anything majorly, and I think the best we can hope for in the short term are domestic trophies. Sorry for everyone in the chat for being negative. I don't mean to be, but let's just be realistic here. It's a process, and I think now we're in more of a position where we can scrutinise players that come to us and think, you know what, hang on, are you here for the right reasons? Because we're not we're Arsenal.
Well, it's my thinking. I like one player who I know is the wrong signing, but I love Dybala, but I think it's the wrong signing. Like I could make a case that he is the right in terms of the players we're going to leave and the quality he'll bring. But those questions you raise, why would he come to Manchester United in the Europa League if he has other options? You have to question that motive, and the motive is potentially sort of more important in regards to than football and ability, because we've seen world-class players come with the wrong intentions and it hasn't quite worked. But just one or two, just sort of.
I'll tell you, I think will be class, and who's rumoured to be leaving, but I think he'll stay. I think Martial. Well,
that'll be fascinating. I think a lot of us are thinking, okay, sell Harry Maguire, no, that won't happen. Or Rashford, yes, he will go or won't go. Martial is just 50-50. I don't know what is going to happen. Like, it wouldn't shock me if it stays. It wouldn't shock me if he's sold tomorrow. It's an interesting one, but I'm sure we'll be covering that in a little bit. But just one or two things here before we want to bring in. I don't want to bring one straight to you, Josh, but here I really like Torres. Good on the balls, left-footed. I think he'll help with the balance, and he's very quick. I think he'll be fine with the high line. Yeah, from what I've seen of him, I think he has everything. Now, you don't know how it's going to adapt or sort of translate into the Premier League, but Pau Torres has been my first choice for a while. Absolutely love watching the guy. And here, in regards to him,
in the league, Varane, I don't think Varane's eclipsed more than 30 appearances.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I mean. And here, in regards to the gone for 10, a lot of made of Timber's height, only 2 centimetres shorter than Ramos, who's been the world's best centre-back for a long period of time. Just on that height, Josh, and answer this in the live chat as well, there is a lot made of that. And you could make a strong case to say it's a valid argument in regards to his height. However, I do look at it now, Josh, and look at the threats in the Premier League. Burnley are out, so you don't need to worry about Burnley now. And I'm just thinking, are there those strikers now that really you need a tall centre-back for? Now, obviously, it's a trait to have at the centre-back because there's a lot of aerial duels. But as I say, it's not Burnley, it's not Stoke. You look around the league, there's sort of quite a lot of sort of little diminutive strikers, and I don't think anyone sort of plays that old-fashioned 4-4-2 of lump it into the box and win your second balls. I don't think that's a style now in the Premier League. So, in my opinion, the issue with Timber is not really too much of an issue in terms of the height.
I think I was going to say, Larry, I think put this on Twitter the other day. I think we're pretty much sorted for defending set pieces. I think we've got the 5th best record in the league this year. So that's not an issue. Height's fine.
Yeah, no, look, it's different, and he'll come in and everyone will love him, and he'll get beaten to a header, and someone will score and say, "Why are we signing this midget centre back?" sort of thing. So it's an unfortunate situation, but it's a non-issue for me. I think if he's the player Ten Hag wants, 90% or not 90% of the time, let's say we're a possession-based team and we've got the ball 70% of the season. 70% of the season, it won't be an issue. We can worry sort of moving forward on the ball. But there are just sort of one or two more things I do want to bring up. But George here is saying Slabhead throws everyone when the ball is in the air anyway. He'll not just have to deal with his the opponents, but obviously the captain as well. We don't score off set pieces anyway. Obviously on the attacking side of things, definitely. Foot springs in his shoes, he'll be sorted. I'm sure that's something PSG or Manchester City could do in and around bending the rules. But if there is anything before we wrap up, any questions or topics you want to discuss, throw them in the live chat. Anything else I've missed, Josh?
Not United based. It's been relatively quiet. I mean, this is the type of time of the year where we just really you look forward to next season. But I'm quite happy for the break, if I'm being honest. I mean, it's been a long season of waking up, and it's going to get worse next year. I mean, look at us. Look at the Europa League schedule. That's Monday mornings now, probably between the hours of 1 and 4 in the morning. It's something that we all have to look forward to, especially with their big games incorporated into it as well. But look, the fixture list is going to that's due to be announced probably in the next couple of weeks as well. So we can always look in our diaries when we're playing Leeds, Liverpool, City, and then obviously the tour as well, which is I think that's the only thing I'm looking forward to. Seeing Ten Hag's first game live, be fantastic.
On that, you mentioned Leeds there. Happy Leeds survived the drop, or are you disappointed they didn't get relegated? It's a hard one because we do want the 6 points and 15 goals against them next season. But you obviously would have enjoyed seeing them go down. So where do you sit on that one?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's always good to see Leeds suffer, but Burnley, tough team. Got a terrible record against them at Old Trafford. Away at Turf Moor, it's always been a bit of a banana skin. So it's one less team to worry about, but it's a bit of a bogey side for us.
I just saw his name a little bit earlier. You mentioned sort of in regards to promotion and relegation, James Garner. I saw here Edgar here saying Palestri, Ahmad, a great talents, but would you go for Anthony if affordable? He will move to a bigger club. You're not negative, you're realistic. We really need to rebuild. Hope we back him. Also, Garner good. So on that James Garner one, look, Obviously, that is Monday morning, Sydney time, Nottingham Forest match against Huddersfield, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so playoff against Huddersfield. Look, one, just from the football purist and obviously growing up, I'd like to see Nottingham Forest in the league anyway. I think they're one club who do offer something. Might do a Burnley offer anything or do a Stoke offer something. Stoke probably do offer something, to be fair, but Norwich isn't that.
A lot of history to the club, and look, they've missed out on playoff opportunities. I remember, I think they lost to Blackpool in the semi-final in 2009-10 season, and they've had a couple of near misses since then as well. So look, it'd be great to see them back. Obviously, fond memories with United with the 8-1 victory there. And they're always a team that United seems to have a pretty decent record against when we play against them. One of England's big cities as well. So, look, it'd be great for him. It'd be great for James Garner in terms of what he's done in his 2 seasons at loan there to sort of lead a team and hopefully gain them to promotion. It'll be a fantastic achievement. And look, if he comes back to United and we do play against them next year, he'll get a rapturous ovation for his services to that club.
George here saying, did United keep any of the backroom staff like Chris Amos? Did he leave? From what I know, when they did come in with Ralph Rangnick, it was a contract with Ralph Rangnick. It was a, however long it was, 6-month contract or whatever, and they were going to leave at the end of the season. Whether Erik ten Hag wants to sort of keep them around and bring them back in, that could potentially be the case. But from what I remember, around Christmas time when it was done, it was a contract to the end of the season for all those backroom staff who came in.
What do you make of McLaren?
I like it. The backroom staff is fascinating when we discuss it as fans. We don't watch training. We don't know. Now, we can say, well, the evidence we have in regards to how it relates to on the pitch, we can say, yeah, they are coaching well or they aren't coaching well. So we do have that evidence, but ultimately we don't see what happens on the pitch in regards to how good the training is, how the players are receptive to it. So I never really have an issue with it. Like, I don't really have an issue with Darren Fletcher or Mike Phelan because I don't know what they do. If they're not hurting anyone or not sort of getting in anyone's way, I have no issue with it. Now, if I had evidence to say they were given the wrong information every Tuesday morning, I would have an issue with it. But I think it's so hard. So Steve McLaren, I had to just sit back and say, does Erik ten Hag want him? Yes. Okay, it's a good appointment. Mitchell van der Gaag, does Erik ten Hag want him? Yes, okay, it's a good appointment. If the answer was to no to one of those, it would be a bad appointment. I wouldn't be happy with it. But I just have to, without any evidence of being at Carrington, I just have to say, if Erik ten Hag wants him, I'm happy with it.
It's a good mindset to have, Tom. I'm not going to lie, it's a good mindset. He's obviously got an atrocious managerial record in more recent years. But look, he's every player that sort of was with United in the late 90s, early 2000s, never had a bad word to say about his training when he was Fergie's number 2. So, look, hopefully he can instill a little bit of that and carry the team forward progressively.
Well, I still use now to this day. When was that? Steve McLaren, 99, 2000. I still, to this day, I coach every day for a living, football. To this day, I still use some of his warm-ups, just little warm-ups without a ball, like little games with bibs and cones sort of thing and colours. To this day, some of the stuff that I saw him doing with professionals, with David Beckham's, Roy Keane's, Dwight York's, Ryan Giggs, I still use those today with kids from kindergarten to year 12 sort of thing. So those innovative ideas, whether they were his or other person's back 20 years ago, are still sort of great in terms of getting sort of enjoyment out of players 20-something years later.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, look, Steve McLaren, he'll obviously be here in Melbourne. We'll obviously be keen to see, maybe there will be a training session or two we can sort of be privy enough to get into and watch. So it'll be great to see a little bit behind the scenes. Make sure you are subscribed. We'll bring whatever content we can when we're down there. Josh will obviously be down there with Larry and I, and obviously many people in the chat will be there. On the next show, let us know if you are coming. I'm about to wrap this show up. But let us know if you are heading down to Melbourne. It'd be great to meet up at the pub a couple of times. I'm down there for a whole week. So every night I'll be having dinner and a couple of drinks at the pub. Anything else I've missed, Josh, before we do wrap up? I think that's about it.
No, just I was telling you off camera before, I'd love them. I usually don't like watching other team celebrate titles, but Jack Grealish has been.
He has been good.
Great value to watch. That she's slagging off everyone and anyone.
Look, Almiron is one player which I said to you, I don't know why. I just think he's the worst player in the league. I don't like him as a player. Now, Newcastle fans might think he's brilliant. Fair play. He's obviously a very good footballer. He's playing professional football in the Premier League. Obviously, he's good. Just something about him. I've never rated him. So I quite like that one from Grealish because I can understand where Grealish is coming from. My main question with Jack Grealish, and it's nothing new, those shorts, could they get higher in that interview he did with Roy Keane on the pitch?
He's a crazy man, isn't he? Crazy man. One of them things, you know, when you're a football player and you play for a professional club like City, United, Liverpool, you always thought that when you go out, just remember what the club you're representing. And I just think he just doesn't care, does he? And I think even Pep's gone, doesn't really bother me now. He is what he is. He's got to accept him. £100 million party boy.
Yeah, no, and some of those players, look, Man United and Sir Alex had that dynamic in some dressing rooms. You look at the famous story there at Cantona showing up to a black tie event in a tracksuit, and everyone thought he was going to get in trouble, and all the players said, "Oh, he's going to give it to Cantona here." And then Sir Alex just turned, "Oh, he's some character, that Erik, isn't he?" Sort of thing. Like, some players you do need to sort of afford that flexibility and sort of give them a little bit more rope to be able to get the best out of them. And Jack Grealish has come in for a lot of criticism this season in regards to not fulfilling that price tag. I think he's been fine. I think he's been decent. Jack Grealish, at the end of the day, he walks away with the Premier League medal. And obviously that's down to a lot the Manchester City, the collective. But I think he's been fine. I think he'll be, unfortunately, I think he'll be better off for this season. And he'll kick on. But that is obviously for a Manchester City podcast, which I'm sure there are none. But Rob here saying, Josh, are you coming to Melbourne? He definitely will be there. He's having a quick trip to Manchester, though, first, aren't you?
Yeah, quick trip to Manchester in 2 weeks. Been long overdue since COVID, so get to see the family.
I like how you strategically sort of planned that when there's been no football, so you can't be disappointed.
Well, look, in February, I was having a conversation with you saying, look, I might go 2 weeks early to Paris. Those months when we were talking about Champions League finals. Well, no, we're booking flights to Russia back then when we were talking, because obviously that was before the war, and I think the final was going to be in Russia, and now it has been moved to Paris. But I was all ready to book. Do you know what? One of our members of the supporters club, I think he did one of the Kazakhstan teams in Europa League a couple of years back.
Yeah, Lockie, I remember that.
And I said to him, I was thinking, I hope if we get Conference League, you know, it's probably cheaper for some of us to even go to like Kazakhstan or something.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, who knows? We could be in the Conference League. If we finish third in our Europa League group, my Conference League dream stays alive. But on the word of strategy, George brings up strategy. Erik ten Hag, I did pick up on how he says it. Strategy, I think he says. But that'll obviously be sort of a part of Manchester United now, because he's not going to change that, and rightly so. So I'm sure we'll be hearing that a lot more from the Dutchman. And always a pleasure. Everyone in the live chat has been good today, and obviously get Josh's thoughts. Now, next 2 Friday nights, I'm back off work, or not off work, but I'll be back a little bit earlier. So the Friday nights will return. Friday Night Pints will return with Larry and I, fingers crossed, on Friday. So make sure you do join us for that. Make sure you are subscribed, so we're edging closer to 950 subscribers, which is great. Do truly appreciate all the support. Make sure you do hit a like on the video before you leave, and go and enjoy, if you are in Sydney or wherever you are, but in an hour or so's time, or maybe about now, Barcelona are playing one of the A-League teams, or I don't think it's an A-League, it's like a combined A-League team, but Barcelona are on our doorstep. So I'm going to go watch that over a little bit of dinner. And here saying, good chat, boys. I do appreciate your support and interaction, Ian. Always a pleasure, mate. Josh, until chat to you, have a good one, mate.
Catch you soon. See ya.
Cheers, lads. Bye.